So I was looking around at Zero Hedge as I usually do. They had an article there from actually Michael Krieger from the it's libertyblitzkrieg.com. I've read some stuff in the past. He's got some good stuff here, from time to time for sure. But this isn't like one of the normal videos I guess I do, but it's kind of related. It's worthy. I'm doing it. He says the U.S. economy is a perverted, neo-feudal, rent-seeking abomination. I saw that title. That isn't. I got to read up on what does he mean by that exactly. I started reading it and said, you know what? Guy's making some valid points here. Let's kind of look at the system in which we live and operate in, especially in America. But again, the Western world, it's the same everywhere. And sometimes you got to take a step back and say, what the hell are we doing? Why do we allow these people to, other people to ruin our lives? And, well, the sad thing is not that we allow it. Like when your CEO fires you and he has to take care of his shareholders. We got shareholders. How many times do I always say that? You're nothing but a number to them, right? So he says, the banker bailouts of the '08 and '09 period changed my life forever. I was working on Wall Street at the time, and the way in which the government rallied around the financial institutions that torched the world and left its victims in the dust threw my entire delusional worldview into disarray. Prior to that, I had bought into the absurd assumption that I was financially successful at a young age, primarily because I was hardworking and talented. The ensuing bailouts and the government's emphasis on obsessively rescuing some of the most degenerate people in our society made me realize once and for all how completely rigged and sleazy the U.S. economy really is. As you might expect, it only got worse under Obama's oligarch coddling policies, and will surely continue to deteriorate under Trump. Hint, Goldman Sachs is not your friend. Ever since I left my cushy financial services job to do the challenging and often draining work of chronicling our ongoing crime scene, I've spent the vast majority of my free time trying to further educate myself on exactly how this system works. What I've discovered over and over again is that it is far more abusive than even I imagined. Today's post highlights two important articles that came to my attention over the past couple of days. Both are extremely disturbing, and both should be seen as completely unacceptable in a remotely ethical civilization, which we are not. First, here's a short excerpt from a Bloomberg article highlighting GE's pension shortfall and how it's gotten worse as executives focused on share buybacks as opposed to funding the pension. You're a hard worker, right? I work hard for my money. Hard for my money, so you better pay my pension. Hang on. I didn't want to sneeze right in the microphone and make it sound like a nuclear bomb just went off in your ear. So, quick little shift F2 with my program that I use here to record. Instant pause. So, again, pension. We'd rather do stock buybacks than put the money to your pension. Now we don't have enough money for your pension. Now we're under, unfunded potentially. Why would anybody do stock buybacks? It's the story of the decade, right? I've been talking about this for quite a while now. Why is the market rallying? Why are these companies rallying? This doesn't make sense. Stock buybacks by the company itself. They're buying back their own stock. Apple does it. GE does it. Big companies, they all do it. And remember, they got loans at near zero interest rate. Why not? It's like free money, right? But what happens when the money runs out? How are they going to continue the stock buybacks, right? How far away is that? Who knows? But anyways, I just want to clarify a little bit about what we're talking about. So again, highlighting GE's pension shortfall and how it's gotten worse as executives focused on share buybacks as opposed to funding the pension. It's a problem that Jeffrey Immelt largely ignored as he tried to appease General Electric Company's most vocal shareholders, but it might end up being one of the costliest for John Flannery, GE's newly anointed CEO, to fix. At $31 billion, GE's pension shortfall. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I thought it was going to say at $31 billion, the total amount to take care of everybody in the pension. No. It's $31 billion. That's the shortfall. Oh, boy. At $31 billion, GE's pension shortfall is the biggest amongst the S&P 500 companies and 50% greater than any other corporation in the United States. It's a deficit that has swelled in recent years as Immelt spent more than $45 billion on share buybacks to win over Wall Street and pacify activists like Nelson Peltz. Part of it has to do with the paltry returns that have plagued the pensions across corporate America as ultra-low interest rates prevailed in the aftermath of the financial crisis. But perhaps more importantly, GE's dilemma underscores deeper concerns about modern capitalism's all-consuming focus on immediate results, which some suggest is short-sighted and could ultimately leave everyone, including shareholders themselves, worse off. Before you think GE is about to reverse course, take a look at the following depraved quote from the new CEO. Hey everybody, I'd like you to meet the new CEO. Same as the old CEO, right? During a conference call to discuss the CEO transition and his priorities, Flannery said that, quote, it is important that we're always mindful of the impact on all of our stakeholders. So obviously our customers, our employees, but I'd say especially our shareholders. Excellent quote. This is precisely how most corporate executives see their employees. They're basically an afterthought, and these are the lucky ones who have a job at a major company like GE. Poor workers are even worse off, and in some cases have simply become indentured servants. What am I talking about, you ask? I'm referring to the highly disturbing, yet extremely powerful article published by USA Today describing the Southern California port trucking industry titled Rigged. Forced into debt, worked past exhaustion, and left with nothing. That's an interesting title, USA Today. Below are some key excerpts, but you should really read the entire piece and share it. Again, this article, as I usually do, will be in the description box of my video on YouTube. A year-long investigation by the USA Today network found that port trucking companies in Southern California have spent the past decade forcing drivers to finance their own trucks by taking on debt they could not afford. Companies then used that debt as leverage to extract forced labor and trap drivers in jobs that left them destitute. If a driver quit, the company seized his truck and kept everything he had paid towards owning it. If drivers missed payments, or if they got sick or became too exhausted to go on, their companies fired them and kept everything. Then they turned around and leased the trucks to somebody else. Drivers who managed to hang on to their jobs sometimes end up owing money to their employers, essentially working for free. Reporters identified 7 different companies that have told their employees they owe money at week's end. The USA Today network pieced together accounts from more than 300 drivers, listened to hundreds of hours of sworn labor dispute testimony, and reviewed contracts that have never been seen by the public. Using the contracts submitted as evidence in labor complaints and shipping manifests, reporters matched the trucking companies with the most labor violations to dozens of retail brands, including Target, Hewlett-Packard, Home Depot, Hasbro, J.Crew, UPS, Goodyear, Costco, and Ralph Lauren, as well as many more. And among their findings, trucking companies force drivers to work against their will up to 20 hours a day by threatening to take their trucks and keep the money they paid towards buying them. Bosses create a culture of fear by firing drivers, suspending them without pay, or reassigning them the lowest paying routes. To keep drivers working, managers at a few companies have physically barred them from going home. More than once, Mervyn Figueroa, we're just going to go with Marvin. Marvin returned from a full day's work to find the gate to the parking lot locked and a manager ordering drivers back to work. That was how they forced me to continue working, he said. Truckers at 2 other companies have made similar complaints. Employers charge not just for truck leases, but for a host of other expenses, including hundreds of dollars a month for insurance and diesel fuel. Some charge truckers a parking fee to use the company lot. One company, Fargo Trucking, charged $2 per week for the office toilet paper and other supplies. Drivers at many companies say they had no choice but to break federal safety laws that limit truckers to 11 hours on the road each day. Drivers at Pacific 9 Transportation testified that their managers dispatched truckers up to 20 hours a day, then wouldn't pay them until drivers falsified inspection reports that track hours. Hundreds of California port truckers have gotten into accidents, leading to more than 20 fatalities from 2013 to 2015, according to the USA Today Network's analysis of federal crash and port trade data. Many drivers thought they were paying into their truck like a mortgage. Instead, when they lost their job, they discovered they also lost their truck, along with everything they'd paid towards it. Eddie Gonzalez took 7 days off to care for his dying mother and then bury her. When he came back, his company fired him and kept the truck. For 2 years, Ho Lee was charged more than $1,600 a month for a truck lease. When he got ill and missed a week of work, he lost the truck and everything he paid. Retailers could refuse to allow companies with labor violations to truck their goods. Instead, they've let shipping and logistics contractors hire the lowest bidder. While lobbying on behalf of trucking companies in Sacramento and Washington, D.C., Walmart, Target, and dozens of other Fortune 500 companies have paid lobbyists up to $12.6 million to fight bills that would have held companies liable or given drivers a minimum wage and other protections that most U.S. workers already enjoy. Notice that keyword? Walmart, Target, and dozens of other Fortune 500 companies. These are the most powerful, richest companies ever, right? Fortune 500. How do you think they got that way? Slavery. It's still here alive and well. It's still here alive and well. The liberal left, you can thank them for that. But allegations like those have been made in sworn testimony in hundreds of cases, virtually all of which ended with trucking companies ordered to repay drivers for truck expenses and lost wages. USA Today Network found that at least 140 trucking companies have been accused by at least one driver of shorting them of fair pay or using threats to squeeze them to work longer hours. Prominent civil rights leader Julian Bond once called California port truckers the new black tenant farmers of the post-Civil War South. Sharecroppers from that era rented farmland to make their living and regularly fell into debt to their landlords. Widespread predatory practices made it nearly impossible for the farmers to climb out. Through lease contracts, California's port truckers face the same kinds of challenges in ways that experts say rarely happen in the U.S. today. I don't know of anything even remotely like this, said Stanford Law School professor William Gold, former chairman of the National Labor Relations Board and one of the nation's top labor experts. You're working to get yourself out of the debt. You just don't see anything like that. Well, apparently you do. California's port truckers make it possible for the Walmarts and Amazons of the world to function. Even so, most of the 24 retail companies contacted by the USA Today Network declined to comment. Some saying they had never heard of the rash of labor violations at their primary ports of entry. We've never heard of such a thing. It's kind of like Hillary Clinton. Did you wipe the data from the server? You mean like with a wipe, wipe it down? Moron. The few others that issued statements said it was not their responsibility to police the shipping industry. Retailers don't directly hire the truckers who move their goods at the pier. They generally hire large shipping or logistics firms that line up trucking companies through a maze of subcontractors. We're not trying to wash our hands of this issue, said John Taylor, a spokesman for LG Electronics, but it's frankly far afield and really very disconnected from LG Electronics. When asked about labor violations by trucking companies in Target's supply chain, spokeswoman Erica Winkles wrote, Target doesn't have anything to share here. In other words, no comment. But you're willing to put a lot of money into transgender bathroom facilities at all of your locations, which then cost you billions of dollars and got the CEO a smack on the butt, spanking, and didn't they have to replace him? He got a lower job now because of that move, because people boycotted it. But when it comes to our truckers, no comment. Transgender bathrooms, big comment. Wow. Anyways, there's a little bit more to this, but you get the point. This is, I mean, does this sound like first world country, America, USA, USA? Proud to be an American. Fight for the rights of every man. Except you. And you, and you, and you, and you, and you. Get your butt back to work. But boss, I've already been out 11 hours. I need you to get it out there for another 9 hours. You need to work 20. I need 20. And when you come back, you better falsify your paperwork. And if you get in an accident, you better not tell them that we made you get back to work. Okay. Got sick, fired, took the truck. Have a nice day. What was that? Remember the lady in the audience, George Bush, Junior Bush? I have to work 3 jobs. You work 3 jobs? Yes. Truly American. Truly American. Proud of her. Right? Oh, you guys gotta work 20 hours and drive, get into car accidents because you're sleeping? Truly American. Truly American.